All right, I've got a three stanza poem lined up,
A three stanza? I've not heard that word since I was probably in the fourth grade.
and it rhymes.
Okay, give us what it is, brother.
Diego, Diego, you suck, Mr. Pavia. Diego, Diego, so glad to not see ya. You're short and lame, a poor man's Manziel. Your fame is a shame, no huzz on your cell. Go off now, short king, in some bummy Nashville club. Hope your mom doesn't sing at your first arena football dub. What up?
We
What up?
snaps for that. Snaps for that. Snaps for the end of Diego Pavia's horrendous reign in college football, and now, thank God, the pros.
An
With
insane
that,
slam of slam poetry to start off the pod.
on that artistic note, welcome back to the pod, everybody. Welcome back to Boomer and Junior. It's your two favorite knuckleheads. My name's Boomer.
And I am Junior. We are back, baby.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to yet another week with your two favorite chuckleheads. We're just here. We're vibing. We're post-draft, and we're here to talk about some stuff. Zachy boy, how are things in your world?
Well, I got to start off things, Nick. You can attest to this. I'm pretty proud. I did just whip out that poem in like
Yes.
3 minutes tops. So pretty proud of that one off the dome there.
I'm also impressed.
You're passionate about what you're writing about, you know?
It also is like a little foreshadowing into what we're going to be talking about later in the pod, but also very impressive altogether.
Yeah.
Just what you pulled out there. I commend you for that. I'm going to credit the West Coast creativity for that one.
Thank you. But
but
yeah, other than that,
anyway.
I'm hyped up. Just getting some last minute shenanigans and stuff in here before packing up, going to our
Dude.
friend Emily's wedding on this
nice.
Saturday, and then flying out to Spain for us to go vibe out there for a week, which would be good. Yeah. How about you, Nick? How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Let's see, dude. That's so crazy. Congrats to Emily. She's a friend of the pod, I guess, in a way, because she's friends. She's a friend of the program. Congrats to her. Give her my wishes, please. And yeah, I mean, similar boat. I'm also like, we for the listeners at home, Zach and I leave to España on Sunday, May 3rd. Not to reveal that to everyone out there on the internet, but we are headed out. But I'm similar to you. I've got a mini trip as well. I'm headed to Atlanta this weekend to visit some family. And it's like, I don't know if you're feeling this too. I don't know when you leave to go to the wedding, but I am like scrambling to get a billion things done before I leave.
Oh yeah, no, I'm cooked.
I'm also cooked, and it's like I have not had a second to breathe, and so yeah, like so I'm headed to Atlanta this week, and then obviously Spain. So we're trying to get everything done, but at the same time, we can't leave the listeners at home, alone. So we still got to give them a pod and an episode before we head out and give you an episode of the pod from Spain. Yeah, no, things are good. Excited. Obviously, coming off the draft, we saw some big names go on the board. Saw some big names leave the board or not come on the board. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun little episode we go through, guys. We're gonna be going through kind of like the big names, some of the big schools that had players, and some of the big schools that didn't have players. And we are going to finish out and round out with some of the big names that were not called out this year that were expected to be called out, which honestly, some of them were shocking, but yes.
For sure, yeah. Yeah,
Zach, you want to
starting
kick us
off,
off?
I think we can just jump right into the guy that got picked with absolutely zero surprises. That was Fernando
Zero surprise.
Mendoza, number one to the Raiders, which had seemed to be
Mm-hmm.
telegraphed for months now.
Yeah.
I don't recall a time when that wasn't expected to happen at this point, honestly.
You want to know what's funny? It's giving vibes of Caleb Williams from a couple years ago with obviously him. He was like the first overall pick, but I mean, I'll tell you the difference, at least how I'm feeling between these two first picks. Mendoza is so much more likable than Caleb. That you know what? First, he also just like earned it the entire way. Caleb was such a crybaby his second year at USC that I hated it. I hated all the hype around him. Having said that, Fernando Mendoza, props to you, sir. You fully earned it. As you posted on LinkedIn, you are now employed. And as much as I hate to say it, Indiana, you guys deserve it. Have your, the first ever. I think he's the first ever first pick. I mean, for
Might
Indiana,
be
and
their
so
first number one overall pick. Yeah.
yeah, I think their last quarterback that got drafted was in like the 70s,
Mhm.
and he actually posted on Twitter. Fun fact: the guy that got drafted, that his record had officially been broken. So congrats to Mendoza. Obviously going to Vegas, I should say. It's going to be an interesting group of players. Obviously, new head coach in the building, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
I did find Richard Corbet, aka Corby Davis, was also selected as the first overall pick in the NFL draft. I was trying to recall. I thought they had some like really good. I don't remember if this is him as the running back or not, but I knew they had like an elite running back in the day or whatever. But anyways, they did have one number one overall pick apparently prior to this in the NFL draft. So
Interesting.
IU too. Yeah.
Hey, man. Something about that Bloomington water, dude. Every now and then they'll come up with something crazy.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But like you said, that was kind of funny. The LinkedIn update. I don't know about you, Nick. I was completely bamboozled though during the draft when like shortly after they picked him, they ran the ad for LinkedIn with him, but it looked like they were just running the pick again. But then he stops like update his LinkedIn. I was so confused. I thought I was tripping or something, and then I realized it was an ad. I was like, this is electric. Shout out to LinkedIn
Pro-
for that. That was actually hilarious.
Product placement, baby. Mendoza knows what's up.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna end on this at least for my Mendoza bit, but like in one of his pre-draft interviews, they were like, "Hey, what would you do if you weren't gonna be an NFL quarterback?" He said, "I'd be moving to New York and grinding on the streets of Wall Street, working a finance job." But thank God, but he credited God for not having giving him a career that would have him working 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so Mendoza, he's got the vibe for it.
Oh
If
yeah.
the NFL doesn't pan out, Wall Street's just going to be right there waiting for him, especially with that Kelly degree. So, hey, good luck in Vegas, pal. That's going to be an interesting dynamic, interesting city for Mendoza and Kirk Cousins to be quarterbacks in. But here we are.
Hmm. For sure, yeah. Then moving on from him, we had maybe not a huge surprise, but necessarily not definitely not a given at number two of David Bailey selected the edge rusher out of
Yeah,
Texas Tech. This he was definitely in discussion for this two slot, but we thought maybe we'd see like an Arvell Reese or somebody here instead. Nick, if I recall, you were big on David Bailey going into the draft.
I was on both of these edges, right? Both these edges, David Bailey and Arvell Reese. I thought Reese had a slight edge on him, just given how well Ohio State did last year, how well he played last year. I've got some thoughts on Reese based on his interviews at the draft. Like there are some questionable responses from this kid. Just truly like at a left, like you can tell this kid did not care about school and did not care about anything related to smarts or brains. But hey, man, New York, David Bailey, immaculate edge at number two. Obviously, going to the Jets, you know, an interesting organization, one might say, in the best way possible. But hey, they typically always have that number two or number three, or sometimes even the number one pick. So, I mean, hey, great pickup for them. Hopefully, his career doesn't go to shit. But yes,
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it there. So Arvell Reese then slid to five, which I don't think
correct.
many, if anybody, was expecting he would fall that far.
Mm-mm.
Funny enough to his fellow New York counterpart team then. So David Bailey going to the Jets at two, Arvell Reese going to the Giants at five. Kind of funny. You crosstown rivals there now all of a sudden. It definitely
It,
seemed kind of interesting. David Bailey, it was put out well on the broadcast. I think well described. David Bailey being the more experienced, proven impact player. Maybe not as high of a ceiling, but you're going to get production from him for sure. Arvell Reese is maybe not quite as proven, maybe not like as high of a floor as David Bailey. However, his superstar potential is there.
oh,
Potentially like
it's there,
really
man.
skyrocket and be like a major like unicorn type prospect for sure. So we'll
Dude,
see how they pan out over time. Arvell Reese, though, kind of like you said there, um,
probably
maybe
dodged a
alluding
bullet,
back
man.
to the great Cardale Jones, also from the Ohio State University of I didn't come here to play school. So,
Dude, yeah, Arvell probably is really grateful that he's going to the other New York team. Probably feel like he dodged a bullet, but man,
oh yeah,
for folks at home, go check out some of his interviews. He is a interesting character to say the least.
yeah.
Someone that the meme is that he has a football for a brain, which I think is hilarious. But anyway, we skipped over a guy that I have loved dearly. for a while now, and that's Jeremiah Love, running back from the University of Notre Dame at number 3, going to the Arizona Cardinals. Actually going a slot higher than kind of where they thought he would fall at number 4 of the Titans, but great pickup for Arizona. Interesting one because they still have Connor, what's his name? The running back in Arizona?
Sure, what was
I'm
that?
blanking. The running back in Arizona, what's his name?
Is James Conner still there?
Yeah. James Conner's still the guy. And so I think it's a great pickup for the future. Jeremiah is going to give you so much production. Very, very happy for the guy. He's already going to be, he's not even had a single snap, and he's already his rookie contract, it makes him the highest earning running back currently in the NFL. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Super happy for the guy.
I just pulled up some numbers on that. How, yeah, with the total contract value, Jeremiah Love is going to be the highest total contract value back in the NFL, which is so crazy and perhaps a bit messed up in terms of how other running backs are getting compensated. But this, I'm sure, will help level the market and help bring them back up to where they should be as really valuable players.
Great pickup for them, man. I think he's gonna have a good long career in the NFL. Great pickup.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was great to see him get cited there. I think the bigger talking point, though, tangentially related to him, and this is jumping down a bit, but that was his fellow Notre Dame counterpart getting drafted 30. It was 32 overall.
32. It was the very last pick
at the very end of the draft.
Round,
yeah. So as we predicted, the 2 Notre Dame running backs being the first 2 backs off the board in this draft. However, both of them in the first round, though, very impressive. It's the first time since 2005, I think, Auburn had a couple running backs get drafted in the first round. Very impressive. Obviously, very difficult in terms of just splitting carries. So it was pretty crazy to see that.
I mean, Jadarian Price, talk about production from the guy, and he was the number 2 back right behind Jeremiah. It's impressive, and I also feel like there was a part of me during the regular season where I was really hoping that Jadarian would stick back around for another year, claim that number 1 spot, and maybe even try to. I mean, his draft stock obviously paid off really high this year. Maybe he could have gone higher next year, but I'm kind of glad he still stuck around. He stayed to go in this draft. But yeah, shout out both of these guys, very deserving of the first round for both of them. I'm going to be really sad to not see them in blue and gold next year. But, I mean, Jadarian going to the Seahawks, I think Kenneth Walker is no longer there. So, yeah, he's going to have probably a walking, red carpet to that RB1 slot in Seattle. So I think, yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yep, Kenneth Walker over to the Chiefs now, so that makes sense. They're able to backfill them. They've got Zach Charbonnet still, who has some injury issues at times, but able to have him take some carries still and have Jadarian Price slide right in there.
It's going to be awesome, man. Very happy for both those boys.
Yeah. All right, yeah, we can slide back up to the top there. Didn't mean to derail too far, but that was definitely a worthwhile talking point, I think. One I want to talk about now, and this is kind of a general trend of the draft, kind of take a step back for a second. We had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had 8 trades for picks in round 1 of the draft this year on draft day, which was crazy. I kept thinking, seeing these trades happen, I was like, oh wow, we're getting a decent amount of trades, and it just kept happening more and more.
Kept rolling.
So 8 first round trades, which was pretty nuts. And this was the first, I believe, one of those. Was the Chiefs trading up to number 6 from, I believe they were number 9 previously, to select Mansour Delane out of LSU, the defensive back. Probably butchered that last name, but I think I nailed the first name at least.
Yeah.
This was interesting. This felt like a major reach. I may not have had a great finger on the pulse of what these other organizations in front of them were looking at selecting, but on Mel Kiper's big board, I think he was 14 or whatever, almost certainly should have slid to them at 9. So a little surprised to see them trade up. I think they gave up their first rounder and then a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick. So bit of a reach, but hey, if you believe in this guy and he's going to be able to lock stuff down, fair enough.
He must have said something in those draft interviews, and something about his tape must have really, at least from the coaching point of view, Andy Reid must have been like, I want this guy on my defense. And so I'll be completely honest with you. I've not watched much of this guy's tape, but if Andy Reid's going for him that high, there's got to be something there.
Yeah. He can't be. Yeah. He definitely has a lot of room to grow because he definitely didn't develop at all recently with Brian Kelly being his head coach. So
Mm. Oh yeah, there's yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Do you want to look at number 11?
I do. This was and I want to say this is an unbiased source. Nick is biased because he's a big Cowboys fan, but for
How
me,
about them Cowboys? Here we
I
go.
saw this selection. They traded up one spot, which felt a little weird, but fair enough. This
Dude,
might end up being the steal of the draft. Was Caleb Downs at number 11 to the
11.
Cowboys? Nick, how are you feeling about this?
Dude, I was watching draft night. At least I was watching the first few picks, and then I saw my Cowboys at 12. Saw the pick or saw the trade happen, and I saw Downs on the board, and I was like, we do need someone at safety, and they called his name. When I tell you the excitement, like the immediate rush that I felt, it gives me vibes of Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb, at least like how I felt when they got drafted in the teens back in their draft years. Uh, Dude, what a steal! And also talk about like elite talent. I mean, arguably this guy might be one of the better, if not one of the best like available picks in that first round. And so talk about overall athlete, right? He's gonna be able to like step in day one and
Oh
lock
yeah.
down offenses. I immediately was texting my Ohio State slash Philly buddies that we got their guy, and just the pure sadness in their faces gave me nothing but joy. I think Caleb's gonna be awesome. We need some help on that defense, obviously, after watching last year, and so I think Caleb's gonna be able to lock down that secondary. It's gonna be great.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, everything I've heard about this kid from like, Nick Saban just raves about him at every opportunity
Yep.
possible. But, not just the athletic ability and the measurables and stuff like that, but the IQ, the instincts, the work ethic. It just seems like it's all there for him. I can't believe that he made it to double digits picks. I see maybe a little
11.
positional need early on or whatever going to other guys, but I have no idea how he slid this far. I mean, very easily could end up being like by far the best player in this draft, and he fell all the
Easy.
way to 11. To be huge for
Yeah.
the Cowboys.
Jerry somehow pulled something out, I'll tell you that much.
That much is for sure. Yeah.
13.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Caleb Downs might have been a bit of a steal there at 11. The reach slash what are you doing pick of the draft. And just ask Sean McVay because he thinks the same thing. Was
Yeah.
the Rams selecting Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, at number 13 overall? Why? Why this early?
Dude, I there's a lot of background noise with this one. I'm sure you've heard of this too.
Mhm.
The rumor slash like legitimate reason is like their GM, like there's a lot of connections with the Rams GM and like Ty Simpson, at least going back years and years, man. And so apparently it was almost a lock that the Rams were going to go
Wow.
with him on the first on in their first round pick going into this. Dude, I didn't mind Ty Simpson in college. I thought he did a I'm gonna say a fine job at Alabama. I didn't think he did a groundbreaking job. I'll be honest. First round for Ty Simpson is very generous.
And like a number 13 overall, it isn't like it's a late first rounder, right? I mean, like,
Mm-mm.
13, you're at a pretty valuable spot there still in the draft order. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not giving. I hate to see it. It's kind of giving Mitch Trubisky vibes. Like, but at the same time, Mitch is like Ty's not going to start for a while. I mean, as McVay said, this is still Matt Stafford's team.
Hmm.
And it's going to be like that. Like Ty's going to fight, not fight, but he's going to fight out with Stetson Bennett for that. I think QB3 slot,
Hmm.
especially. And there are rumors that Garoppolo is going to retire from the Rams, and so there's a lot going on in that room. But I think, yeah, I mean, ceiling is moderately like medium to high for Simpson. I'm going to say medium for Simpson. I don't think there's a really high ceiling for him in the NFL, but yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you have connections, right? I mean, you get picked in the first round.
For sure.
Good for him. Good for the kid.
Yeah. I mean, he showed some good moments in college. It's just he
True.
seemed allergic to clutch time pretty much. And so that to me kind of seemed like a big concern as you go to an even bigger stage. We're going to have more of those moments. Maybe
Yeah.
a couple of years, not as a starter, we'll be able to give him kind of some breathing room and develop and stuff. Because that's the thing, having a situation under Matt Stafford here, being able to learn for a couple of years from one of the best quarterbacks to play the
Dude.
sport, reigning MVP. I mean, that could be really beneficial to him, like, ramping up and starting off his career. You think of like a Patrick Mahomes who is maybe a little raw in some ways coming in and
Alex Smith.
being under Alex Smith for a year, for example. I don't think Ty Simpson is going to be Patrick Mahomes, but that type of a vibe though, right? Might be able to develop a bit and improve and become like a starter or something.
Uh,
All of that said, if you wanted Ty Simpson, I feel like you could have traded back and you could have
True.
gotten, more out of this, right? Like I think he would have been available by like 20 at least till I would think. I don't think there's really any teams, you look at some of the teams in here, Ravens don't need a quarterback, Bucks don't really need a quarterback, Jets already passed on a quarterback, wouldn't take one there. Lions don't need one, Vikings don't need one, Panthers don't need one, Steelers don't need, Eagles don't need one. So you can go to 20 at least there, right? Um,
Yeah.
maybe get some type of like other picks out of it and still get your guy. So I didn't hate who they took necessarily. I hate how early they took him. I think they should have tried to trade back, get a little more out of it, and then still
I'm
get a guy.
sure. I'm sure the
So
GM's got a lot of heat right the last few days. I'm sure
yeah.
it's not been easy for the guy, but oh well, his pick, his grave he just dug. But yeah,
Yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, I guess we could rip through just a few other quick big
yeah,
guys in the first round. Ruben Bain Jr., who we talked about, just to quickly touch on that,
dude,
the
yeah,
whole car accident issue. Really highly rated in terms of actual talent and ability on the field, but he might get charged with a felony and go to jail. I don't know, like
yeah,
so
yeah.
we'll
Interesting to
see
see him
there.
go down to 15. I guess, but that'll all do it, right? He was projected to be a top 10 pick,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Bucks are taking a shot with him, and so we'll see how that
shades of
plays out.
Laramie Tunsil there.
Ooh, that's a good comp.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my next guy I really want like the next guy that's a notable guy is Mekhi Lemon at 20 for the Philly. Great wide receiver, great pickup from the USC junior. He's got a very high ceiling for that kid. All right. And I think he's got some insane pace. Obviously, with rumors that AJ Brown is headed to New England here in June when when free agency hits, like they're gonna want to have some support in that wide receiver room. So yeah, I think it's a great pickup for them. I mean, like GM, I think I forget his name, but Howie something like great pickup by the Eagles. As much as I hate to say it, but honestly, great sleeper pick.
That's for sure. Another wide receiver, a few picks later, Casey Concepcion, who's the star receiver from Texas A&M. He got some media attention before the draft. He has a stutter that he lives with, works with, whatever. And he's like, made a statement like, yeah, I might have this, but I'm gonna be the best receiver from this draft class in like a humble like let me prove to you like who I am kind of a way.
Yeah,
And so I was very excited to see where he would land. Was hoping he'd get in a good situation where he could really show out. And of course, he went to the absolute toilet
mm,
bowl that is the Cleveland Browns. Rest in
yeah,
peace, that young man's career. Now, I'm sure I'll be fine. You could probably put up some numbers and or get traded somewhere or whatever. But
yeah,
little bit of a tear shed on that one from my perspective.
yeah. I watched this kid play via my girlfriend who went to A&M, and I like it was really cool to watch him play, especially this year with how A&M did.
Oh yeah, and having
Yeah,
Marcel Reed lugging him the ball, I mean that was just beautiful to watch.
yeah, and with especially with like all the uncertainty that is going on in the QB room with at Cleveland, the Deshaun Watson, the Shadur situation. It yeah, it's I feel bad for the kid, but hey, top 25 pick, first round, good for him, man. He's gonna make some money off of that. Yeah, and the next guy I think I want to touch on is it's bittersweet, but Dylan Thieneman at 25 to the Bears from Oregon. I hate to say that, but obviously former Purdue kid, played safety at Purdue for I think 2 full seasons, and then transferred to Oregon. Phenomenal talent, right? Incredible that he's a first rounder. I wish it was Purdue under his name and not Oregon, but great pickup by the Bears. He's elite. I Similar to Cooper DeJean in terms of the exciting whites category. I think Dylan Thieneman is going to be an incredible secondary player.
Here's the
And
difference,
adding
though. You see, Dylan Thieneman is a safety. Cooper DeJean is
is
not a
not.
safety. He's just a corner who will lock down your number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, musical talent by Zachary Simmons.
I'm gonna stop singing so we don't get copyrighted. But yeah,
That's
check out
hilarious.
Cooper DeJean is not a safety. Michael Jackson music video on YouTube or whatever. It is hilarious.
Incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Who else you want to look at? Anyone else?
Uh, No, not really. I think we rounded out the kind of most of the guys we talked about in the first round there. I think we can move on to just general
Let's do it.
quarterbacks who were drafted, at least as a whole. And I'm getting into some notable and infamous guys who did not get drafted.
Let's do it, man. So we talked about Fernando. We talked about Ty. I
Mhm.
guess the next guy up, didn't see him being the third quarterback being picked, considering he has such a questionable past. But Mr. Carson Beck from the University of Miami / Georgia. Zach, what do you got?
Yeah, your favorite sloth from Ice Age ends up going sent to Phoenix after all, which is funny with the temperature delta there. No, yeah, he'll
Hilarious.
be pairing up with Jeremiah Love, who also got
Yeah.
selected in this draft to the Cardinals. This will be interesting to see. I actually don't know who's currently slated to start for the Cardinals, as Kyler Murray went to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure who they're looking at depth chart wise right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's hypothetically at least competing for the starting job. I doubt he'll get it, but I think he'll be
It looks
trying to
like
fight for it.
Arizona's going to still run with Jacoby Brissett from last year after the production that he put
That's
together
right.
for that
Yeah.
team.
Mhm.
I do see a little bit of QB room like battles. I do see a lot of handoff situations happening, aka QB snap, handoff to Jeremiah Love, run it to the end zone. It's an interesting pick by Arizona. There were a few other QBs in this draft. Obviously, quality dropped off after Mendoza, in my opinion. But I mean, of the guys left, Carson, arguably, in terms of numbers that he put up, was the quote unquote the best. Look, man, I don't think he's going to do that much in the NFL. I think he's going to have a couple years. He's going to ride the backup slot, maybe on a few different teams. But then again, we didn't think he was going to make the national championship this year, and he took Miami there. So Carson Beck might pull Carson back and do something interesting there. But yeah,
For sure. And then yeah, next quarterback selected, the one, the only, the infamous, going to be the greatest quarterback ever out of Happy Valley, Drew Aller.
my goodness.
God, I feel bad for this kid. He seems like I would say he
Mm,
seems like such a good kid. I've seen a lot of interesting risque DMs he sent on Instagram, so actually not really.
yeah, I was
He
going to
seems
say, I don't know
alright
if I
though.
feel.
He seems like a decent enough person. Just he's having issues keeping his pants zipped up. But other than that, though, good enough kid. Um,
Sounds like a lot of
yeah,
Penn State quarterbacks, aka Will Levis there for a second. But yes.
yeah. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, Nick. Apparently, Drew Aller grew up a big Browns fan, I believe it was. Being a division rival with the Steelers, he was like when he got drafted, he like
Yeah, I saw
refused to
this.
put the Steelers hat on, which I thought was crazy. I don't
Really
care
funny.
how like I'll sell out right now. I don't care how much you care for or support a team. If you're about to get paid millions of dollars by a rival, I think you
Take it.
gotta switch.
Oh, yeah.
As much as it pains me to say that, like I also am not as deep into NFL as I am college football. So if you were to ask me about that from Michigan, oh, that's a tougher conversation. But I think actually presented the millions of dollars, you got to do the switch there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions to ask with Drew going that high. I mean, the Steelers really must have seen. I mean, at, there's a ceiling for Drew, and it's high. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of ifs on the road to that ceiling, in my opinion. He's obviously coming off of a crazy injury this year, and not to mention the inconsistent throwing well before that, right? Well, all the way back to the Orange Bowl in 2025, early in 2025, man. Look, Drew's a good quarterback on his best day, but that is few and far in between, right? And so he's obviously going to not be the starting QB. I think QB1, there's a battle between Mason Rudolph and Will Levis in that QB room, man. Potentially, if Aaron Rodgers is coming back, there's that lurking question. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be Drew's not going to start by any means, but at the same time, he's got potential to at least sit a year, learn, maybe get a little bit of playtime. But I'll be honest, I didn't think he was going to be a third round pick, maybe a fifth round, maybe a fifth round, especially given his injury that took him out for the year. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to question here, but we'll see how Drew plays out.
I do think this was a decent enough value selection based off of pure like talent and abilities because he can definitely throw some NFL balls. Like make
Yes,
passes that there are like three other people on the planet that can make that throw type of a thing, right?
valid. He's got a
He's got some
gunslinger, man.
serious abilities, but he's got to really like lock in, slow the game down, which is gonna be difficult at this higher level, and really like hone his abilities. So we'll see.
We'll see,
Uh,
brother, man.
moving on, just touch quickly. Cade Klubnik out of Clemson, yet another 5-star quarterback going to the Jets that I'm sure will not pan out. Cole Payton out of North Dakota State going in the 5th round to the Eagles. How did it work out the last time the Eagles drafted a quarterback out of North Dakota State? I guess all right. They did win a Super Bowl, but not with him as a starting
Not
quarterback.
with him.
Um, interesting. A couple more interesting ones towards the end of the draft, though, I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Taylon Green out of Arkansas, absolute athletic specimen with his
True.
measurables at the combine. I do not have those numbers up, but I remember being blown away. He was like setting some seriously high marks for quarterbacks. I think this is definitely a project and a bit of a risk, but in the 6th round, why not take a shot at an athletic freak at quarterback? Worst case scenario, I could maybe see him converting like tight end, wide receiver, or whatever. He's got the abilities in him to do that.
He's got the speed.
Yeah, they seem like a good kind of shot for the Browns to take. And again, I think a pretty good value.
Yeah. And then Washington going with Ethan Kalikmanis in the 7th round out of Rutgers. Interesting pick. The fact that there's a Rutgers QB going ahead of a couple of guys like Garrett Nussmeier and the guy we're going to talk about eventually, Diego Pavia, is an interesting pick. They must have seen something at least in the on his pro day or at least in his draft or in his draft stuff. But yeah, interesting pick up there. And I think to round out, we got 2 guys going: Baron Morton out of Texas Tech to the Pats, and Garrett Nussmeier from LSU going to Kansas City. Real quick touch on both these guys. I actually like Baron Morton out of Texas Tech. I thought he was pretty good. Did not think he'd slip down to the 7th round, but I could see why that happened. Garrett Nussmeier was talked of being like the next big thing out of LSU. Obviously, we saw that did not pan out under Brian Kelly. Fell off pretty hard.
Yeah, some injury issues and stuff in there too, right? That held him back, and Brian Kelly being Brian Kelly.
Hey man, look, he's gonna learn a crap ton under Mr. I'm blanking on the best quarterback in our generation.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patty Mahomes. Yeah, I think he's gonna have there's a lot to learn there. I don't know actually who's gonna be the QB2 in Kansas this year because Minshew went out to Arizona this year in the off season, and so yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who the QB2 is gonna be. But yeah, interesting, decent pickup, 7th round.
I think that was another good one. That was like a really good value pick as well. I mean, I think he's still got a really high ceiling. I think honestly, he might have the highest ceiling of anyone in this draft not named Fernando Mendoza. I mean, he really had some serious hype going into the season with him.
That's an interesting one. Okay.
Veteran coaching, which Andy Reid obviously learning from a really strong veteran presence. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best to ever do it. That right there. I was talking about the Ty Simpson situation, maybe being all right. Yeah, I feel just as good, if not better, about this situation. And this happened 6 rounds later. So
quite a pick.
I think this Garrett Nussmeier pick could end up very well for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Quite a pick in the 7th round.
Indeed.
All right, brother man. Let's run it.
Yeah. So top players, or actually, before we get into that, I want to, before I forget here, just a quick shout out and rest in peace to a few schools who did not hear any players from their team get called on over the course of the weekend. Those were North Carolina, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, a lot of ACC schools there. Out of the Big Ten, you got Purdue, Wisconsin, UCLA, rest in peace, the Boilermakers. And then out of the Big 12, you got Colorado, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia.
Dude,
that's a lot. That's 10 teams that did not have a player drafted from the Power 5 or Power 4 this year.
Some big schools in there. UNC under Bill Belichick, man. You would have thought it was year 1, right? And so there was a lot of hype coming in this year. And obviously, that fell flat.
This was the first year for Wisconsin in since 1978. I think it was almost 50 years.
48
years.
Yeah.
Had not had a player drafted, which is pretty crazy
as
well.
Wisconsin's one of those solid teams every year where you got a couple guys picked up, right? So
exactly, yeah, you get somebody out at least, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Did not see that one coming. Yeah,
for sure.
I'm not going to talk about the
then we get into what I believe is our final segment of the undrafted players of note.
Oh boy,
Let's go ahead and start off with the hate session right away.
let's do it.
Mr. Diego Pavia, you are an undrafted free agent.
You are going to be a used car salesman someday. Incredible. I can kick this off. We've talked about this guy for months now through the regular season and I guess the playoffs. Man, the absolute the attitude problem this guy has and how it does not match his game at all. And I think you alluded to it well at the start of the pod, man. He's like a very washed up, not as good Johnny Manziel. And so, yeah, I think recent news is that he signed the Ravens minicamp, right? But at the same time, like, yeah, not shocked at all that he's the first Heisman finalist since 2014 to go undrafted.
He's an older, shorter, less talented Manziel with somehow an even worse personality. I mean,
Worse,
you
way
can't
worse.
write this stuff. You couldn't be worse at this. It's crazy.
Like he had to have known, right? Like he had to have known, like his agency, like he doesn't have an agent, I think, like from last I heard. But yeah, at the same time, I guess Ravens they must have seen something. They invited him to mini camp, I guess, but like his ceiling is piss poor in my opinion. And so he's gonna be like we've talked about this forever, man. Potential CFL legend. We'll see. Oh, what did you say? Arena football legend.
Arena football, CFL, UFL, whatever you want to call it. One thing's for sure, though, he will not be playing on Sundays in the fall.
God bless. I'm so glad to not have to see this guy's name pop up on my screen anymore. One season was enough. Him and the fiasco that comes with his family. Like God bless. Good riddance. Oh man. Who else? I feel like there was a couple other notable names.
There was one more. I wanted to get into Luke Altmaier from Illinois.
Oh yeah.
Quarterback. I have nothing against Ethan Kaliakmanis, but I am stunned that he was drafted when Luke Altmaier was left on the board. Luke Altmaier, I guess, did have a bit of an underwhelming season this year. It's still a good year overall, but had a really good year the year before as well at Illinois. You know, really, really solid quarterback, I'd say. Seems to have decent measurables and everything. Pretty experienced. Seems to have a good feel for the game. Actually was signed by my Detroit Lions. That's pretty exciting. Be cool to have him as, you know, Jared Goff's got some years in the tank still, but he's been in the league for 10 plus years now, though. So be good to get somebody in there. Maybe, you know, I think he's got some diamond in the rough potential. Not saying he's going to be necessarily the guy in the future, but I think he's a type of guy that like a Nick Foles type that could like carry you through the end of the way if your starter goes down.
I could see it. That was a name that shocked me in terms of at least the QBs that I picked up. I will bring up. I don't have much to say on Luke, but I will bring up our next guy here. But Haynes King out of Georgia Tech, and what he did with the Yellow Jackets, man. Like I was shocked that he didn't at least be like a late round pick. Guy was a gunslinger this year. He pulled Georgia Tech into the realm of being known, and so they were on the verge of a playoff appearance. They were on the verge of it. At Georgia Tech, and on the verge was something else, man. And so I don't actually know if he got picked up by anyone. And so at least in undrafted, I think Panthers. Yeah. Good for him. He's gonna get a shot there, at least to like play around a little bit. But yeah, good for him in that. I feel bad for him that he didn't get drafted, but
yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see. He's another guy. Honestly, he's another one I think might be interesting to see if he switches to like a tight end or whatever. Because that was really a big part of his game in college was his running ability, which I think is going to lessen quite a bit as you get to the NFL. Again, it could translate somewhat, but that he seems like another maybe prime candidate for a potential positional switch. But we will see.
Haynes King, do good, my friend, do good.
Yeah. And with that, I think that'll bring us to the close of this week's episode. That's our NFL draft recap. Thank you as always for joining in and listening with us. Make sure as always to rate, review, like, subscribe, follow, everything like that. Leave us a comment or send us an email at officialboomerjr@gmail.com if you got any feedback. And make sure to check out our social media. We got TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. We got 30 subscribers on the YouTube now. Big milestone. So yeah, we just keep hitting these goals slowly and slowly. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. And like we said, we'll be in Spain next week doing an episode at some point there. We've got a fun little idea cooking for what we're going to do. That's a little European theme, sort of. We're still fleshing that out and stuff like that. But I think we got a fun, kind of somewhat themed idea for next week's episode from Spain. So
yeah, we got Boomer and Junior going abroad. Thanks, everybody.
Boomer and Junior going abroad. Let's go, baby. Bye.
Bye.